This podcast contains content related to child exploitation and criminal investigations. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The views expressed are those of the host and do not represent any official agency. All individuals discussed are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
There's a moment right before a parent calls 911 when the entire world seems to hold its breath. For one family, that moment came late on a school night. A mother found her 15-year-old son sitting at the edge of his bed. He was shaking. He was staring at his phone like he was holding a loaded weapon. She reached for it and he pulled away. Then finally, with tears in his eyes, he handed it over. The message on the screen was short, no greeting, no explanation, just a number, 764. And beneath it, a threat that stopped her cold. If you don't pay, everyone will see. Now, she had no idea what 764 meant. She just knew that her son was terrified, and something very real, and something that felt very dangerous, had sunk its claws into him. Today, we're going to talk about what those numbers represent. We're going to discuss why predators use it, and why families across the country are hearing about it for the first time, only after their world has begun to crumble. I'm Sean Lacey, and this is Chasing Shadows. If you follow this podcast, you know that the internet has reshaped what danger looks like for our kids. We've talked about gaming platforms and encrypted apps and peer-to-peer networks and grooming tactics. But today's topic is a little different. This isn't one single person behind a screen. This isn't a lone predator working in the shadows. It's an organized crime ring. Coordinated, scripted, and international. It's a system that moves faster than parents realize, faster than most teenagers can comprehend, and faster than many investigators can respond. And the numbers 764 have become one of its calling cards. So today, bear with me, I'm a little under the weather, but we're going to talk about what 764 actually is. We're going to talk about how these networks operate, where they hunt, and how they pressure teens into panic. We're going to discuss the tragic case reported by the Washington Post, and most importantly for us as parents, what we can do to protect our children before it happens and after. Now, this episode may be difficult, but it's necessary. Because the danger is real. And like we've discussed, the solution begins with awareness. So let's start by clearing up a misconception. 764 is not just one person. It's not a username and it's not a password that teens are using. It's the label of a network, a tag used by organized sextortion groups. These groups operate across multiple countries, but the strongest concentration appears to be part of Nigeria, the Ivory Coast, Ghana, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Singapore. These networks aren't just freelance predators. They're structured groups, sometimes living together, sometimes rotating shifts, sometimes what investigators call sextortion houses. Inside those houses, multiple offenders share scripts, victim files, payment instructions, fake profiles, compromised accounts, and the exact same methods of psychological pressure. Think of it as a criminal call center. Efficiency over empathy, and profit over humanity. 764 is just one of the identifiers tied to these operations. But it's one investigators see again and again and again. So where do these groups hunt? Well, like traditional predators, they go where teenagers go online, and they adapt instantly. Snapchat is their number one hunting ground. Why? Well, because it feels private. The messages disappear. The camera opens automatically, and teens treat it like a safe space. It'd be hard-pressed to find any 15 or 16-year-old kid these days that doesn't have a Snapchat profile. And to a sextortion network, Snapchat is probably the most fertile hunting ground. Let's talk about Instagram. 764 uses it to make initial contact, to groom quickly, to gather victim information, to include friends and identify family. They use that by accessing the follower lists, and then they use the follow lists to make their threats seem real. Instagram profiles let predators see exactly who they can weaponize against this child. They use Facebook Messenger for long-form threats, for sending victims screenshots, or hacking into friendly messaging loops. A favorite of these groups is Discord. We've talked about Discord on this platform. They use Discord to move victims off mainstream platforms. They use Discord to store stolen images, to operate inside group channels, and to work to coordinate with other offenders. WhatsApp and Telegram are also used because they're encrypted. They're used for payment instructions, international communication, group coordination, and an encrypted storage of victims' images. 764 has been seen on gaming platforms like Roblox, Rec Room, VR chat, PlayStation messaging. This is not where sextortion usually starts, but this is where the offenders meet the teens. And once that contact is made, they migrate the kids to platforms where the scam unfolds. The 764 network doesn't have one platform. Essentially, they're platform agnostic. They follow attention. They follow vulnerability. And they follow your child. So let's walk through the playbook that these groups use. This is based on real cases, including ones that I've worked, but explained safely and generally. Step 1 is the contact. A fake profile reaches out, usually posing as a teenage girl or a slightly older teen, but someone that is attractive and relatable. These profile images are stolen or bought, or sometimes AI generated. Step 2, fast trust building. This isn't long-form grooming. This is speed. It happens within minutes, not days or weeks. Typical exchange might be, hey, you're cute. Want to trade? Turn your camera on. Step 3, recording. As soon as a victim joins a video call, offenders are screen recording. They often play pre-recorded content to make teens think that they're speaking with someone their age. Step 4 is the switch. The friendly tone vanishes instantly. Offenders reveal the recording in the victim's contact lists. I have everything. You have 10 minutes to pay. If you don't, everyone sees this. Step 5 is the demands. Payment is demanded through cash apps, gift cards, and cryptocurrency. Step 6 is the re-extortion. If a teen pays, the demand continues. There's no final payment, ever. And step 7, what makes this different than just for financial gain is the psychological warfare. This is the most dangerous and the darkest phase. Offenders bombard teens with guilt, shame, threats, predictions of ruin, and they start messaging them to harm themselves. This isn't accidental. It's strategic. And it brings us to one of the most devastating examples of this cycle. A story that just a couple weeks ago made national news. Recently, the Washington Post published a deeply troubling investigation into sextortion networks tied to West African groups. Networks that operate almost identically to 764. One case in particular shook the country. A 13-year-old boy was lured into a sextortion scheme. After sending a compromising image, he was overwhelmed with threats. Your life is over. Everyone will see. You have to fix this. The messages came fast and relentless. And within minutes, the child believed he had no way out. On a live stream while predators watched, he was coerced into harming himself. And unfortunately, he died shortly thereafter. This was a child. Our most innocent part of the population. This was not an adult. This is not someone with life experience that can handle this kind of manipulation. He was a friend and a student and a son. And unfortunately, he's not the only one. Other teens across the U.S. and Canada have died in similar circumstances, victims of the same psychological pressure, the same tactics, and the same relentless fear. When I say sextortion can be deadly, this is what I mean. It's not hypothetical. It's not rare. It's happening now. It's happening in your state. And it's not just happening in the U.S. I've worked multiple cases here locally of sextortion, of teenage boys who've paid extortionists out of fear. Teens who believed their lives were ruined. Teens who were threatened in an attempt to get them to harm themselves. Cases where every single detail, the profile, the script, the threats, they all matched a 764 playbook. Some of those teens paid money. Some of those teens panicked and continued to panic and downward spiral long before their parents knew. This is not an individual predator acting independently. This is industrialized exploitation, and it's attacking our kids. Parents sometimes ask me, why didn't my kid just tell me? Why didn't he or she come to me right away? Because these predators don't just act like predators, and they don't just attack the child. They attack that child's sense of safety. They weaponize the shame and the fear and the guilt and isolation. They capitalize on the anxiety and the panic. They tell kids, your parents will hate you. They will never forgive you. You'll go to jail because it's illegal for you as a kid to send these images. You'll suffer the embarrassment at school and with your family because they will see everything. You've ruined your life, and the only way to get out of it is to pay me. In the Washington Post case, the offender pushed the child so far into panic that he couldn't see any other option to make it stop but self-harm. That's a level of psychological force that these networks use. Teens don't hide it because they're irresponsible. They hide it because they're overwhelmed. Now, this is not an easy fight for us in law enforcement. We realize that most of these offenders are overseas and extradition is rare. Offenders use VPNs and proxies and burner devices and voice over IP phone numbers and temporary accounts. Multiple offenders may use the same phone or laptop, making individualization difficult. They can generate dozens of fake profiles in a day. Images and usernames get passed around inside their networks, creating this wave of re-extortion. Some of these groups target hundreds of minors per week. Like I said, this is online organized crime operating at hyperspeed. So what must we do as parents? If your child is targeted, don't yell. Don't blame them. Don't take their phone. Don't panic. And please don't send the money. What you can do is tell them you're not in trouble. Cut off all contacts. Save screenshots. Document usernames. Report this to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's cyber tip line. Contact your local or state law enforcement. Let them know this is a scam and we can fix this. The most important thing is your child should never feel alone. Teens, this part is for you. You are not ruined. You're not broken. You did not destroy your life. You're not a criminal. The person on the other end of this conversation is the criminal. You can get through this. You're not alone. Help exists. You deserve safety. And there is always a way out. If something has happened to you, please tell someone. Whether it's your parent, a teacher, a counselor, a coach, or law enforcement. Most schools in the country hopefully have school resource officers. They're a safe place. There's no shame in being manipulated. It happens to everyone. And the only strength exists in speaking up. Despite how overwhelming this feels, there is hope. Worldwide, law enforcement agencies are coordinating. I know for a fact that Homeland Security has conducted a couple different operations in the Ivory Coast and arrested some of these people. Operators are being arrested. Sextortion houses are being raided. Tech companies are starting to respond. They're starting to come around slowly. Education is spreading. You parents are learning, and teens are doing the right thing and they're speaking up. We're not powerless. We're not outnumbered. And we still got a lot of fight in us. 764 thrives in the silence. But silence is a choice, and knowledge is a weapon. If your child is targeted, there is hope. There is help. Remind them that a single mistake does not define their future. Conversation and time heal. And together, we can make the shadows smaller. Thank you for listening to Chasing Shadows. If this episode helped you better understand what's happening online, please share it. Please share it with at least one parent who needs to hear it. Because you could be the reason that one child's life is saved. Thank you for listening. And thank you for standing with me in this fight.